I want us to talk about the future and the past. And I spoke a little bit about this on my message on Shabbat. So if you want more information, you're going to have to go to that, and I'll put the link in there for you. But future and past, we think of it so Greek in our world because we think the future is in front of us and the past is behind us. But in Hebrew thought, that's just not the case. It's not the case. And, we live in a society that it's going to get better. It's, the best is yet to come, et cetera, et cetera. And that's really doesn't make a lot of sense, because if we look at the world, it's sort of going in this downward spiral moment. And you hear the minute you're born, your body begins to degrade the minute you're born. You hear that. I'm just leaving it at that. But, we need to be like kids. I think about my granddaughter. She has no concern about her future. She's not worried about tomorrow, and worry's a big deal. I don't know if it is for both. I know that that's something I deal with. I have to really, because worry's fear, and you can't do that. That's fear. Yah did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind. But if we would understand the Hebrew concept that our future is behind us. So what do you mean? Well, in Greek thought, we're looking in front, we're always facing the other direction. But I've told you guys before, in a Hebrew thought, it's like you're in a boat. You're in a rowboat, one of those rowboats where you see multiple people rowing together, and there's somebody that's facing the opposite direction that's calling out where to go. Now you're going in the other direction, the direction opposite what you're facing. And that's really sort of what it is in Hebrew thought. The future is that's behind us. And what do you mean by that? Well, when we're looking at all the great things he's done for us, because that's all we know. If we are living in the testimonies and the miracles that he's done for us and other people, that's a sure sign of how he's going to take care of you in the future. And you need not worry. You need not fret. When we start to we look at our past and we look at the miracles God's done, how could we but trust in a great God that's before us? Now, when we listen to the news, when we look around us, when we see what's happening around our kids, it's easy to say, oh, where are we? What are we supposed to do? What's supposed to happen? How are we going to take care of ourselves? But our Yah says, when we trust in him, when we're following his word and his ways, when we are so intimate with him that we hear his voice, that he's going to take care of us. I want us to look at, well, I'm not going to look, but here's something from Jeff Brenner. That's the difference between the future and the past. In biblical Hebrew, the word for yesterday is tamul, and it comes from the root mul, which means in front. Okay, think about that now, in front. And the biblical Hebrew word for tomorrow is macher, and it means back. Okay, so from a biblical Hebrew perspective, the past is in front of you, and the future is behind you. So as we have walked through the past, we see it behind us, and the future, which we have not yet seen, is in front of us. So here again, even in the Hebrew words for tomorrow and yesterday, it gives us that picture of that rowboat rowing behind. So we need to stop worrying about tomorrow, worrying about what's he going to do? How's he going to do it? We need to trust in him, because he's got us, and he's got us. If we're drawing close, if we're seeking him out. Now, if we're doing our own life, our own way, and we're sitting on the throne of our own hearts, well, then he's going to let us drive. But that's one thing we need to do too. Excuse me. Is get off the throne of our lives and stop saying, hey, you can sit on the throne of my life, and say, oh, but not my finances. Oh, but not this part. Oh, but not that part. Because that's what we do, folks. Let's be real. That's what we do. Instead, we let him be Yah of every part of our life. And we trust in him. We trust in what he's doing in our lives. And we hold on with that testimony of Yeshua, of the things he's done. And we can face what we've got to face with a surety, just like our grandchildren or our children. And rest in him. And isn't that be still and know that he is Yah, because he is, no matter what we're facing. No matter what we're facing. So when trial or tribulation comes up, guess what you can do? You can laugh at it, because it's just an opportunity. It's an opportunity for Yah to show himself glorious. It's an opportunity for him to show and prove himself. Now, remember, male means in Hebrew zakar, which is to remember. Remember, guys, remember, cast your cares upon him and trust in him in all that you're doing, because he has got you. So what is the future and the past? Let's stop thinking Greek. Let's stop thinking the way that the world thinks, and let's think the way Yah thinks, and trust in everything that he's doing. I just put a link into that message in the chat, so you are welcome to go watch that. And if you do go to that, subscribe to our Life of Worship YouTube channel, like it, share it. Anyway, we would love to have you a part. So that is our inspirational short moment for the day. Any comment?
Well, I do. It's very interesting, because scripturally speaking, that we know the end from the beginning. And it says that if I got this right, 7 times in the book of Isaiah. And we look at the book of Isaiah so many times as being very prophetic, as looking into the future. But if you really want to understand the future, is you understand the past. And so, I mean, I was just thinking about how many things are cyclical in life, and especially, like, for example, let's go back to the early 1900s during the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and there were certain things that took place leading up to the communist takeover. It was a process, and it took them a good 20 to 30 years of dialogue and philosophy, and, you know, getting the people through an education system to get on the same page, to where they could get, I think it was only 3 to 5% of the population that agreed with the Bolsheviks, which ended up in ousting the czars and taking over, and where the communism began to reign for the next, you know, what was it, 80 years or so. And so when we look at that, we can look at, well, what were the steps in the process, and what's going on right now in America, and where there's such rhetoric. I mean, almost to the point of, if you don't agree with us with our socialist, communist, Marxist agenda, then you don't deserve to live. And that was the rhetoric that
It's now,
that went right up to the revolution there in Russia, during a time of World War I was going on, and just great upheaval, and certain people were able to take power, and then they started slaughtering anybody that didn't agree with them, and millions of believers, Jews, all over the country of what became the Soviet Union, were just slaughtered. And, you know, we can see that if this cycle continues, we'll see that in America, because we're looking to the past to know our future.
Well, but I want us to realize too, we walk in that encouragement of what Yah's done for us.
And I'm just saying that is, no, I'm just saying that is in terms
because
of,
things are cyclical.
Here's an action. Yeah. So, and of where it's actually happened in our past. This is historical.
Well, and you see that now. The rhetoric is now, if you're conservative or anything like that, you don't deserve to live. Mm-hmm. So, Joe, did you have anything you wanted to comment on?
If I walk backwards, I will trip and fall. And cyclical would make me dizzy. You know, I have worked with you, and you're crazy, dude. No, I like what you had to say. I like what you had to say. Yeah, we need to look at our past. Our past is what has caused us to grow. Don't dwell on it, but look at our past. And the reason I brought the puppet out is because so many people become so serious and so stone-faced that they forget that we have to have joy, because it says in the scripture, joy of the Lord is our strength. And we need to remember that. And that's why we are to look at our kids. Look at our kids and how they have no care in the world. They have such trust. This is how we're supposed to be. I think this is why the Father gave us children and grandchildren, to remind us of these things.
I agree. Mark?
To relieve your great hack, try chloroseptic. It will help all of it and stop your great hack.
Well, I may slip out and go get a cough drop or something. So anyway,
chloroseptic's always what we use. My response, there was several things that came to mind, but there's something that I have taught a lot for years and years and years and years is when I'm thinking of faith. And you've heard definitions of faith by multiple people that come up with their own concept of that. And my concept of faith is that if you don't remember all the things that God has done for you in the past, when you need God to help you in the future, you won't have the faith to trust him to help you in the future. And I think that is the number one reason why people don't get their prayers answered, or, I mean, there's a billion different reasons for that. But the number one thing is that God has done massive amount of things, miracles beyond understanding that he has done for each individual one of us. And yet when it comes time to trust that he's going to be there for us again in the future, then we don't trust him, or we say we trust him, but we still go a whole different way to get that issue solved. And so I think that plays right along with what you're saying is that without the past, your future is completely different. And so maybe that works the same way. I'm not so sure that's what comes to my mind.
Well, it's like your past is like you're a seed. Are you going to be a seed for the rest of your life, or are you going to start growing? And you got to go through the routine. And everything that happened in your past, like you said, is to bring forth who you become. And, I use the puppet and saying walking backwards. Yeah, let's say we're walking backwards, but we walk backwards and we're looking at our past and the future's behind us, but we're also using that as trust, because we know that he's going to tell us if we need to turn to the left or the right. It's like at night when it's real dark, I still deal with when it's dark to have someone help me. And they have to tell me, hey, be careful, there's a step, or hey, there's this and that. That's trust in a person. If a blind man can trust a person, why can't we trust the creator of all things?
By the way, Joe, I could see your lips moving when you were doing your puppet thing a while ago.
Yeah, I'm not a ventriloquist.
Oh, you're not a ventriloquist?
No.
You're a puppet master, and they move their mouth?
They move their mouths.
They do. Okay. Well, next time, move your webcam over a little bit, so we only see the puppet. See, and then we'll believe that the puppet's actually talking.
You mean like this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That works for me.
Hey, to wrap that up, everybody, just take hold of what he's done. Now, when we're talking about look into your past, rowing that boat, you're moving this way, but you're facing the other way. I'm not talking about dwelling on the mistakes, dwelling on the hardship, not talking about that. I'm talking about dwelling on the King and his victories in your life. And if you say, hey, I don't have anything, use somebody else's, but pray. God, if we're living and breathing, that's something right there. If we have a roof over our head and our bills are paid, that's something. And there's so much. So that's our inspirational moment for today.